Hey there. I want to start by saying thank you for tuning in once again to another Enlightened Hearts Ministry podcast. Here's the thing. Life can feel scattered sometimes, like pieces of a story that don't quite connect. And if you've been feeling that lately, you're not alone. I've been wrestling with that idea this week. How God is working even when everything feels a little disconnected. And today's readings step right into that tension. They remind us that what looks random to us is actually very intentional in the hands of God. In Acts, we hear about believers scattered after persecution. Not planned, not comfortable, definitely not ideal. But here's the twist. That scattering becomes the very thing God uses to spread the gospel. People start speaking, sharing, reaching beyond what they knew before. And suddenly, something new is born. Antioch becomes this place where followers of Jesus are first called Christians. Think about that for a second. The identity we carry today came out of chaos, came out of uncertainty, came out of people just trying to stay faithful in the middle of disruption. Drop the mic right there. And maybe that's where you are. Things didn't go how you planned. Something shifted, something broke, something changed. But what if God isn't absent in that? What if he's actually building something through it? The Catechism reminds us that God's providence is at work in everything, even the things we don't understand. CCC 303 says that God guides all creation with wisdom and love toward its ultimate end. Not some of it, not just the neat and tidy parts, all of it, even the messy middle. Now, let's move to the gospel. Jesus says something that cuts straight to the heart. My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. But not easy. Because if we're honest, there's a lot of noise competing for our attention. Voices telling us who we should be, what we should chase, how we measure up. And somewhere in all that, it gets harder to recognize his voice. But Jesus doesn't say, my sheep figure it all out perfectly. He says, they hear me. There's relationship there. There's familiarity. There's trust that builds over time. And this is where that I am connection comes in. Because the voice we're trying to hear isn't just any voice. It's the voice of the one who said, I am. The one who is constant, unchanging, present. Not distant, not guessing, not reacting. He simply is. So when everything else feels uncertain, his voice doesn't shift. When your circumstances scatter, like the early church, he remains steady. That's the anchor. That's the thread tying everything together. There's also something deeply comforting in what Jesus says next. I give them eternal life, and no one can take them out of my hand. Let that sink in. No one. Not your mistakes, not your doubts, not the chaos around you, not even the things that make you feel like you're slipping. The church fathers used to talk about this kind of security as being held, not just guided, but held. Like a child in the arms of a parent who isn't letting go. And that image hits different when life feels unstable. Psalm 87 echoes that sense of belonging. It speaks about being known, being counted, being named as part of God's people, but as someone intentionally claimed. And if we connect all of this together, something powerful starts to emerge. The scattered are gathered. The unknown are named. The uncertain are held. That's the pattern. That's the heartbeat of what God is doing. So maybe today isn't about having everything figured out. Maybe it's about tuning your ear just a little more. Listening for that steady, quiet voice, the one that doesn't shout over the noise, but cuts through it, and trusting, even if it feels small, that you are known, that you are held, that you are not wandering aimlessly, because the same God who guided the early church through scattering, the same Jesus who spoke in the temple during the Feast of Dedication, the same I am who has always been, he's still speaking. And he knows your name. Hand that holds the stars, whispers softly in the cold. I know you by name. Once again, thanks for being part of the Enlightened Hearts family. I'll talk to you soon.